Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. On the radio, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on talklawradio.com. Picture this. A parent gives their child a family house free and clear. Everyone feels generous. Years later, the child sells it and gets hit with huge capital gains taxes that could have been avoided. Or another family member who makes yearly gifts of $19,000 thinking they're completely safe until a parent needs nursing home Medicaid, which imposes a multi-month penalty. Welcome to Talk Law Radio. Today we're talking about legal mistakes people make when giving gifts, specifically the capital gains trap on lifetime gifts and the Medicaid 5-year look-back rule that the annual gift tax exclusion does not override. Let's start with the capital gains problem. When you give away an appreciated assets during your lifetime, a house, stock, land, anything that has gone up in value, the person who receives it generally takes your original cost basis. That's called carryover basis under the tax code. Contrast that with what happens if the same asset is inherited after death. The cost basis is stepped up to the fair market value on the date of death. All that built-in gain that occurred during the owner's lifetime disappears for income tax purposes if the property is sold immediately after death. Here's a concrete example. Suppose a parent bought a house decades ago for $100,000. Today it's worth $500,000. If the parent gives the house to a son or daughter while alive, the child's basis is still $100,000. When the child later sells the house for $500,000, there's a $400,000 capital gain. At federal rates of 15 or 20%, plus possible state tax and the 3.8% net investment income tax, the tax bill can easily exceed $80,000 or $100,000. But if instead the parent keeps the house until death and the child inherits it, the basis becomes $500,000. Sell it for $500,000 and the taxable gain is zero. The difference is enormous. People make this mistake because they only focus on avoiding probate or getting the asset out of their estate. They forget the income tax cost that gets transferred to the next generation. For highly appreciated property, waiting until death is often the better tax result, assuming the estate is not so large that estate tax becomes an issue. And with the 2026 federal lifetime exemption at $15 million per person, most families aren't facing estate taxes. This is Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. We're talking about family, fortune, and fallout, problems that can be avoided when you're making gifts. Now I'd like to talk about Medicaid. The second common costly mistake involves Medicaid. Most people know about the annual federal gift tax exclusion. For 2026, that amount is $19,000 per recipient. You can give that much to as many people as you want without filing a gift tax return or using any of your lifetime exemption. Married couples can effectively double it with gift splitting. The problem is that people assume the same $19,000 amount is somehow safe for Medicaid, but it's not. Medicaid long-term care eligibility has its own completely separate rule, the 5-year look-back period. Under federal law, when someone applies for Medicaid to help pay for long-term nursing home care, the state examines every transfer of assets made for less than fair market value in the 60 months before the application date. Any transfer for less than fair market value, a pure gift, triggers a penalty of ineligibility. The length of the penalty is calculated by dividing the total value of gifts by the average cost of nursing home care in the state that you're in. That divisor varies by state, but is typically several $1,000s per month. So if a parent gave away $95,000 over a few years, and a few years of the $19,000 annual exclusion amount to one child, then applies for Medicaid, the entire $95,000 is added up. Divide by, say, $7,000, the monthly divisor, and you get almost a whole year of an ineligibility. During those months, the family has to pay the nursing home bill privately, which can be devastating. Medicaid does not care that the gifts were under the gift tax exclusion. The exclusion's an IRS rule for gift and estate tax. Medicaid's look-back rule is an anti-impoverishment rule designed to stop people from giving away their assets just to qualify for government benefits. Birthday checks, holiday gifts, helping with the down payment, adding a child to the deed for the house, selling a car for $1, those are all gifts. All of it can count if it happened inside the 5-year window. The only reliable way to avoid the penalty is either to make no uncompensated transfers in the 5 years before needing care, or to plan far enough ahead with strategies that comply with the rules. For example, certain irrevocable trusts created more than 5 years before the application, or legitimate spend downs on exempt assets. But once the gifts are made inside the look-back, the penalty is almost automatic. A few other gift mistakes that show up regularly are failing to document the gift properly so ownership is clear, forgetting that large gifts still require a gift tax return even if no tax is due, and making gifts when the donor later needs those same assets for their own care. Here are some practical takeaways. First, for appreciated real estate or investments, run the capital gains numbers before you sign the deed. Second, never assume the annual gift tax exclusion protects a Medicaid application. It does not. Third, if long-term care is a remote possibility, talk to an elder law attorney before making more significant gifts. And fourth, keep careful records of every transfer. Medicaid will ask for years of bank statements, deeds, and tax returns. Giving is generous, but the tax and Medicaid rules have sharp edges. The capital gains carryover basis rule can turn well-intentioned house gift into a 6-year tax surprise for your children. And the 5-year Medicaid look-back treats every gift the same. The annual exclusion amount is irrelevant. Plan carefully. Get professional advice tailored to your state and situation so you can avoid these expensive mistakes. This is general information, not legal advice for your specific facts. I'm Todd Marquardt. This is Talk Law Radio. You can find us on YouTube by going to YouTube, click the search menu and type Talk Law Radio and look for the Lady Justice and the red, white, and blue logo. And click subscribe. That way you can catch all the episodes that are posted. We divide them up into short 10 to 12 minute segments that you can watch or listen to while you're walking the dog, washing the dishes, or working in the garage. You can also find us on podcasts everywhere, of course, Facebook, and talklawradio.com. In fact, if you have some ideas for the show, topics that you'd like to learn about, go to talklawradio.com and click the button that says that you want to be a guest or that you want to sponsor the show. I've been talking about family fortunes and fallout here today, and I just finished talking about lifetime gifts, capital gains and the step up in basis after death. It talked about Medicaid for long-term care and nursing home, and the 5-year look back and the penalty that applies if somebody makes gifts within 5 years. If you have questions about these topics, call a lawyer. In fact, Marquardt Law Firm sponsors this show, and you can call a lawyer at Marquardt Law Firm by dialing 210-530-4278, 210-530-4278, or go to marquardtlawfirm.com. That's M as in mother, A-R-Q-U-A-R, D as in David, T as in Timothy, lawfirm.com, and schedule an appointment to talk to a lawyer about your goals and concerns, and they'll tell you if we can help. In the next segment, we're going to be talking about power of attorney and the problems that can happen there. And then we'll be talking about legacy, including what the family limited partnership is used for and how it might help, and all the problems that could happen if you set it up the wrong way or at the wrong time. So let me just recap what we learned this segment. We were talking about gifting, making lifetime gifts to your beneficiaries or your children during your lifetime, and the problems that it could create for them if you give a highly appreciated asset to them, like stocks or a house, and then they sell it and they have to pay capital gains tax. But if they can wait until after you pass away, you get a step up in basis and you save, and that child saves income taxes. They don't have to pay capital gains. Now remember that if you're making gifts in order to qualify for nursing home Medicaid, the IRS gift tax and estate tax annual exclusion amount of $19,000 per person per year doesn't matter. Medicaid doesn't care about the gift tax and estate tax annual exclusion amount. Medicaid and the IRS rules and regulations are completely separate. That's why it's best to do gifting under the care and supervision of an attorney or accountant that knows both sets of rules. Okay, so you've been listening to Talk Law Radio for a long time now, but have you shared it with your friends? You want them to know what the hidden legal issue blind spots are as well, because if they step into a legal blind spot, they might drag you in with them. I'm Todd Marquardt. This is Talk Law Radio. Been talking about lifetime gifts, after-death gifts. In the next segment, we'll be talking about power of attorney and problems that could be prevented. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Most families don't realize they have hidden legal blind spots until it's too late. Wills, trusts, Medicaid planning, even protecting a business. These are the kinds of issues attorney Todd Marquardt helps uncover before they become problems. Todd is the host of Talk Law Radio, where each week he guides listeners through the legal challenges families, veterans, and business owners face, while showing them the practical steps to protect what matters most. Catch Talk Law Radio, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, 6:30 a.m. The Word, and now in Houston on AM 1070 and 103.3 FM The Answer, or anytime on YouTube. Planning isn't just about documents. It's about peace of mind, security for loved ones, and building a legacy that lasts. Don't wait for a crisis. Do it before you die.